Thank you. My name is Barry Herr. I'm running for state controller as a Republican. I am a certified public accountant. I've been here in Nevada for over 20 years. I presently am president of the Las Vegas chapter of the Nevada Society of CPAs. I'm also a member of the Las Vegas Chamber of Commerce as I practice in Nevada as a sole practitioner. I also am a former adjunct professor at UNLV. I'm a graduate of UNLV. My daughter is a graduate of the Clark County School District and graduated from UNR with a degree in secondary education. I am proud to be a citizen here of the great state of Nevada, and I'm looking forward to running as a state controller. Thank you.
Yes, sir, Don McBride. If you are elected as a Nevada State Controller, is there any plans that you have to do anything differently, or do you have any ideas that you would like to see implemented, or how exactly is it that you're wanting to run the office of the advocacy?
Well, as state controller oversees the audited financial statements of the state, as well as prepares the comprehensive audited financial reports for publication to the citizens of the state, as well as anyone who requests it. Much of the job itself is dictated by Yellow Book, which are the guidelines that federal government or governments have to do their audited financial statements. That in itself is a nonpartisan issue, and as such, what we need there for that position is a CPA, somebody who's familiar with going through the auditing financial statements, procedures, as well as understanding how to prepare the financial statements. They're dealing with outside auditors, and that individual has to be able to do that. That's why a CPA would be good. Now, much beyond that, as controller, I also see the position being in somewhat of an advisory role, in that the executive branch and the legislative branch, well, when the legislative branch is in session, may be coming to the controller's office for requests of financial statements and all, and I would be able to give them as a Republican. And with my background, that type of the benefit of my experience. I was also in private industry. The companies I worked for, we had to meet payrolls. We knew if we did not get revenues that we would have to cut costs where possible, and I would be able to get the benefit of that experience. With the preparation of budgets, as the state treasurers candidates were saying earlier, the budgets today are prepared by the state based on certain criteria, which in a small business, I actually do use that for small businesses that don't have the wherewithal to be able to prepare a detailed budget. But larger corporations are based on certain assumptions. One is that you do a budget based on what type of revenues you get. You don't do the budget like it is now and then figure out where you're going to get the revenues. In government, unfortunately, they go with the concept that this is the budget, now how much are we going to tax? We really need to look at what our revenues are going to be and then prepare our expenses from that. And if we have to cut back, I hate to say it, I've seen people laid off. I've been laid off, and I know how rough that is, but if we have to cut back, sometimes we just have to cut back.
Hello, Barry. I'm Chris Steele, and as we're talking about the veterans in politics endorsement, as veterans, we're all about leadership, service-oriented leadership. So in your role as controller, when it comes to leading your organization, whether it be through financial documents or how many people do you actually have working for you, and what do you see as some of the challenges around leadership in that type of position?
I do not know the exact number of people that would be working underneath me as a state controller. I have worked for a state agency many years ago for the New Jersey Transit. I'm originally from New Jersey, where we had much larger departments. The leadership aspect of it, my experience has been, even before I was an accountant, I was in retail management. I was a trainer for Kenny Shoe Corporation. I would have to, before I could say specifically I would do this, that, or the other thing, just like I would do with my clients as a CPA, I would have to analyze it, take a look at what's out there. There's a lot of good people sometimes within the different agencies that just may not be doing their job right because that's not what their strengths are, whatever. talking to the different people, seeing what, and I do love asking the workers, the people, when I do an audit, for example, I'll talk to not just the controllers, but the accounting clerks and all that, find out what they feel about it, because a lot of times, they're really the experts, and they can a lot of times give great guidance. And I would utilize their information to be able to make it more efficient.
Great.
Thank you.
This is Bill Lyons, I'm a business owner. How much of the controller's information is a public record? So,
I'm sorry.
how much of the information you have is public record? So anybody like myself can go online and research what you're doing.
Most of the information, as far as the audited financial statements, of course, is public record. The comprehensive audited financial statements is public record. The assembly of the information, depending upon what it is, in Nevada, even salaries and everything are public record. I don't know specifically if I was looking for something specific where I would look. Certain things I know as a CPA, I know I can find out certain property assessments or the salaries of the different people. But I believe that for all intent and purposes, everything, with consideration to privacy issues for individuals, of course, should be public record. I'm sure most of it is just putting it in a format that's easy for the average user to be able to go on the internet and say, I want to know how much was spent on for example, the bridge building over the I-15 and Spring Mountain Road. And that sometimes it's fairly easy, sometimes it's not. I don't know whether it's part of the IT program within the controller's office. If it is, it would be something I would like to be able to work with to make it simpler for people, because different websites are named sometimes. I'm sure we've all had that problem.
Richard Hawkins, economics professor and attorney. What sets you apart from your opponents in this race? Why you?
On the Republican ticket itself, I am the only Republican who is a CPA and who has the experience in business. The difference between myself and the president incumbent on the Democratic side in the general election, I have run businesses, as I'm sure she has as well, and as advised as CPA she would be, as she is. But again, to be honest with you, with the fact that as a Republican, I am a fiscal conservative. I have known what it's like to have to meet payroll, to be able to look at the costs and the expenses first. I would really push that aspect of my experience when in office before we decide whether we should raise taxes or anything like that. Let's take a look, see where we can control costs, because there is waste. I don't care how good anybody is. We all tend to waste money, and in some areas just seem wasteful.